The ship landed with a soft hiss on the dusty surface of planet HC 2187. Its metal skin gleamed under the light of 3 small moons hanging in the purple sky. 6 tall, reptilian figures stepped out onto the planet's surface, their scales reflecting the moonlight as they surveyed the landscape. Another wasteland, Commander Vrex said, his forked tongue flickering between sharp teeth. Just like all human ruins. Dr. Alan Gray was the last to exit the ship. Unlike the others, he was human, shorter, with no scales, and skin that burned easily under alien suns. He adjusted his breathing mask and looked at the half-buried structures ahead. Once, humans had built great things across the stars. Now, they were just a scattered few among many alien species. The readings are strongest from that central building, Alan said, pointing to a dome-shaped structure rising from the sand. We should start there. Vrex made a sound like laughter. The human wants to give orders now. Remember your place, Alan. You are here because regulations require a human consultant. Nothing more. The other aliens, Zrax, Trell, Orcs, Kivo, and Ixel, watched with amusement, all except Ixel, the youngest, who seemed uncomfortable with how they treated Alan. Set up base camp here, Vrex ordered. Tomorrow we begin proper study of these primitive attempts at architecture. As the aliens set up their equipment, Alan walked closer to the ruins. The buildings were half swallowed by sand, but still impressive. Huge curved walls and towers that stretched toward the sky. On one wall, he noticed strange markings. They looked like writing, but not any human language he knew. Yet somehow, they seemed familiar. Odd, he whispered, running his fingers over the symbols. Talking to yourself, human. Trell, the geologist, had approached without Alan noticing. That is why your kind failed. Too much imagination, not enough logical thinking. Alan ignored the insult. These markings don't match any known human language. Trell waved a scanning device over the wall. Probably just decorations. Your species always wasted time on useless beauty. The device beeped, and Trell frowned. There's an energy signature coming from deep below. Very faint, but steady. Energy. After all this time, Alan asked, we should be careful, if systems are still active. There you go again, Trell interrupted. Always afraid. This is why humans lost their place in the galaxy. Back at camp, the aliens shared a meal while discussing their plans. Alan sat apart, studying images of the ruins on his tablet. These ruins are over 500 years old, Zrax, the chief scientist, announced, from before humans lost Earth and scattered across the stars. What exactly happened to Earth? Ixel asked. Our lessons never explained clearly. Some great disaster of their own making, Orcs answered with a dismissive gesture. Typical human mistake. Now they are nothing. Alan closed his eyes, trying to ignore them. No one really knew what happened to Earth. It was just gone one day, along with most of the human race. That night, as the 3 moons aligned perfectly overhead, Alan dreamed. In his dream, he heard whispers coming from beneath the sand. Words in a strange language flowed through his mind, and somehow he understood them. The sleepers stir, the whispers said. Guardian protocol initiating. We have waited long. Alan woke with a jolt. The ground beneath his sleeping pad was vibrating slightly. He placed his hand on the sand and felt a steady, rhythmic pulse, almost like a heartbeat. From the ruins, a faint blue light flickered for just a moment, then disappeared. Something's waking up, Alan whispered to himself. He knew the aliens wouldn't listen to his warnings. They never did. But deep down, he felt that after centuries of humans being mocked and dismissed, something was about to change. The ruins weren't just ruins. They were waiting. Morning came with 2 suns rising over the horizon, bathing the ruins in golden light. The alien expedition moved quickly, setting up scanning equipment around the main structure. Alan watched as they cut into walls with laser tools, taking samples and laughing at the primitive materials. "Look at this," Zrax called out, holding up a piece of metal. "They thought this alloy was advanced. We give it to children as toys now." Alan bit his tongue and continued his own careful study. Something about this place didn't feel right. The layout wasn't like other human outposts he had seen. Some rooms were shaped wrong, with ceilings too high and doorways at odd angles. "Dr. Gray," a voice called. He turned to see another human walking toward him. Kira Wells, the technology specialist who had arrived with the second ship that morning. Her brown hair was tied back, and her eyes were alert and curious. "Glad to see another human face," Alan said with a smile. "Have you noticed anything strange about these ruins?" Kira nodded. "The computer systems I found are partially working, but they're weird. Some parts look human-made, but others use technology I've never seen before." Together, they explored a chamber filled with empty pods, each shaped to hold a human-sized body. The pods were connected to machines with softly blinking lights. "These were never in any human outpost records," Kira whispered, running her hand over one pod's smooth surface. "What were they for?" Alan pointed to writing on the wall. "These symbols again. They're not human, but I feel like I can almost read them." At that moment, Commander Vrex stomped into the room. "What are you two doing? The real scientists need access to this chamber." "Commander," Alan said carefully, "we think this facility might not be entirely human-made. These pods and symbols." Vrex's laugh cut him off. "Always the same with you humans. Cannot accept your species build nothing special." He turned to the other aliens entering the room. "See how they try to claim their ruins are more important than they are." The aliens laughed as they pushed past Alan and Kira, scanning the pods and taking samples without care. "Be careful," Kira warned as Mralx pried open a control panel. "We don't know what these systems do." "We are not afraid of your dead technology," Mralx said, yanking out wires. Suddenly, lights flashed throughout the chamber, and a humming sound filled the air. Then everything went dark again. "See, nothing," Mralx said proudly. Later that day, the expedition found a massive central chamber with a stone monument in the middle. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing faintly blue when touched. "I can read some of this," Alan said, surprising himself. "Guardian sleeps beneath. The last defense." Zrax snorted. "Defense against what?" "Humans were always afraid of shadows." "We should analyze this before going deeper," Alan suggested. "These warnings." "Warnings?" Vrex interrupted. "Your human imagination sees warnings everywhere. These are just decorations from a dead civilization. Tomorrow we drill beneath this monument." That night, the vibrations grew stronger. Equipment fell from tables, and sand shifted on the ground. Alan couldn't sleep, feeling the pulse beneath him growing more intense. "You feel it too?" Kira asked, finding him outside looking at the ruins. In the moonlight, they could see a faint blue glow pulsing from cracks in the structure. "Something's waking up," Alan said. "But what?" From nearby tents, they heard aliens muttering in their sleep, some crying out as if in nightmares. "They hear the whispers now," Kira said, "but they'll still ignore them." The youngest alien, Ixel, approached them nervously. "The monument," he whispered. "I scanned it more closely. There's a huge chamber beneath it, and something inside is moving." The three looked toward the ruins where the blue light was getting brighter. The vibrations had become a steady rhythm now, like a giant heartbeat growing stronger with each pulse. "Tomorrow they'll drill into that chamber," Alan said quietly. "And I don't think whatever is down there wants to be disturbed." Morning brought new troubles. Two alien researchers, Kivo and Lart, had gone to explore a newly discovered lower level during the night shift. They hadn't returned. "Status report," Commander Vrex demanded as a search team returned from below. "We found their equipment here," said Trell, showing images on a tablet. "Next to this wall. But the wall shouldn't be here. Our maps show a hallway." The images showed scanning tools and sample containers abandoned on the floor. Behind them stood a solid wall with faint blue lines running through it like veins. The wall must have been there all along, Vrex decided. Those fools must have gotten lost elsewhere. Their equipment malfunctioned, as usual. Ellen studied the images carefully. That wall wasn't there yesterday. Look at the dust pattern on the floor. It's undisturbed. If the wall had been there for centuries, there would be dust built up against it. Nonsense, Ralk said. Walls don't appear from nowhere. Human imagination again. Despite more search attempts, Kivo and Lart remained missing. The expedition continued its work, but worry spread among the alien crew. Only Vrex seemed unconcerned, pushing everyone to work faster. Ellen, Kira, and Ixel secretly met in a small storage room to study the monument's symbols. I've been recording the whispers at night, Kira said, playing an audio file. Strange sounds filled the room, not quite words, but patterns that somehow made sense to Alan. They're talking about the sleepers and those who came before, Alan said, surprising himself. How can I understand this? Ixel looked nervous, his scales changing to a pale blue color. My people have old stories about humans. They say you were once, more than you are now. What do you mean? Kira asked. Just stories, Ixel said quickly. But these symbols mention guardians. Not human guardians, but something humans created or controlled. They worked together, piecing together translations. The monument wasn't a decoration, it was a warning. The facility wasn't built to house humans, but to contain something else, something the humans of old considered both dangerous and necessary. When they brought their findings to the expedition leaders, the response was predictable. More human fantasies, Science Director Mrox laughed. Next you'll claim humans could travel between stars without ships. We're just saying we should be more careful, Kira argued. 2 people are already missing. Humans cannot accept they were never important, Vrex said coldly. These ruins are garbage, nothing more. Gray for your interference. You will take night watch. That night, alone in the monitoring station, Alan watched camera feeds from throughout the ruins. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then he noticed something strange. Shadows moving against the light, not with it. Systems in sealed sections briefly turned on and off again. The vibrations had become constant now. Alan realized they followed a pattern, a steady rhythm like a heartbeat, and it was getting stronger. On one screen, he saw the drilling equipment positioned over the monument. It was set to begin at dawn, breaking through to the chamber below. They're going to wake it up, he whispered. Alan's communicator beeped. It was Kira. Alan, come quick. Ixel found something. Records hidden in the computer system. They're not in human language, but there are images. Alan hurried through dark corridors to meet them. The images on Ixel's screen showed beings of light emerging from pods like those they had found. Humans stood beside them, not in fear, but as equals or even leaders. What are they? Ixel asked, his voice shaking. Before Alan could answer, a deep rumble shook the facility. Dust fell from the ceiling, and lights flickered. They've started drilling early, Kira said, checking her tablet. Vrex ordered it moved up. The rumbling grew stronger. Then suddenly, everything went quiet. Too quiet. All lights, all systems, everything electrical just stopped. In the darkness, blue lines began to glow along the walls, floor, and ceiling, the same veins they had seen in the wall where Kivo and Lart disappeared. It's waking up, Ellen whispered. The Guardian is waking up. The ancient facility hummed to life around them. Lights that had been dark for centuries began to glow with soft blue light. Doors that had been sealed shut slid open with a hiss. The air itself seemed to change, becoming fresher, as if old systems were cleaning it. What's happening? Ixel whispered, his scales now almost white with fear. Before Alan or Kira could answer, their communicators crackled to life. Vrex's angry voice came through. All personnel, Return to the central chamber immediately. The drilling equipment has broken through, and we found something. Something big. Ellen, Kira, and Ixel looked at each other, then hurried through the now-lit corridors. As they ran, Alan noticed that some paths were changing. Walls moved aside, creating new routes, guiding them. It's like the building is alive, Kira said, breathing hard as they ran. When they reached the central chamber, they found chaos. The monument had split open, revealing a staircase spiraling down into darkness. Soft blue light pulsed from below, matching the rhythm of the vibrations they had felt for days. Commander Vrex stood at the edge, his face showing excitement rather than fear. Prepare exploration equipment. I will lead the first team down. Whatever technology is down there belongs to the Galactic Confederacy now. Commander, wait, Alan called out. We should analyze what's down there first. These systems activating. The missing researchers. Silence. Vrex snapped. Always the humans try to keep discoveries for themselves. No more delays. Vrex selected 4 alien scientists to join him. They began descending the staircase, lights on their suits cutting through the darkness. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. Part of the ceiling collapsed between Alan's group and the main chamber. They were cut off. We need to find another way out, Kira said, coughing through the dust. They turned to leave but found the corridor behind them had sealed itself. They were trapped. Look, Ixel pointed to a wall that was sliding open, revealing a small room with glowing screens. They cautiously entered. The room was circular, with screens showing different parts of the facility. One screen showed Vrex and his team descending the staircase. Another showed the main expedition camp outside. Others showed areas they had never seen before. Huge chambers filled with rows of pods, similar to the empty ones they had found earlier, but these were closed and glowing with energy. It's a control room, Kira said, studying the panels. But I don't recognize this technology. On the largest screen, they watched as Vrex's team reached the bottom of the staircase. They entered a massive chamber, larger than any they had seen before. In the center stood a single pod, much bigger than the others, pulsing with bright blue light. The Guardian, Ellen whispered. They watched as Vrex approached the central pod. Ignoring the warnings of his team, he reached out to touch its surface. The pod's light suddenly intensified, becoming almost blinding. The screen showed Vrex stepping back, but too late. The pod split open. Something moved inside, too fast to see clearly. A figure emerged, tall and shifting, like liquid metal given life. The audio feed from Vrex's team filled the control room with screams. Then silence. The screen showed the figure moving among the fallen aliens, examining them. It wasn't hurting them. It seemed to be studying them. Then the figure looked up, directly at the camera. Its face shifted, becoming almost human, but with eyes that glowed blue. It spoke in a language that sounded like flowing water, yet somehow Alan understood. Guardian protocol initiated. Containment breach detected. Awakening defensive measures. Throughout the facility, alarms began to sound. On other screens, they saw more pods beginning to open, one after another. More Guardians were waking up. What are they? Ixel asked, trembling. Alan stared at the screens, memories stirring in his mind that shouldn't be there, knowledge he shouldn't have. They're not our enemies, he said slowly. They're our creation, humanity's greatest achievement and final gift. The main Guardian looked at the camera again, as if it could see them through it. It spoke again, and this time both Alan and Kira understood clearly. Humans detected. Genetic memory protocols activating. Prepare for integration. Panic spread through the alien expedition as the ground shook beneath their camp. Those who had remained on the surface watched in horror as blue light spilled from every crack in the ruins. Equipment failed, weapons wouldn't fire, and their ship reported all systems going offline. Inside the control room, Alan, Kira, and Ixel felt a strange warmth spreading through their minds. Images flashed before Alan's eyes, memories that weren't his, yet somehow were. He saw humans in white labs, creating the Guardians. He saw Earth, beautiful and blue, then something happening, not destruction, but transformation. "We need to get to the surface," Kira said, breaking his trance. "The others don't understand what's happening." A door slid open behind them, revealing a path upward. The facility was helping them. "What about Commander Vrex and his team?" Ixel asked, looking at the screen where the first Guardian still stood among the fallen aliens. "They're not dead," Alan said with certainty. Just paused. "The Guardian is studying them." They hurried through the new passage, climbing upward through sections of the facility they hadn't seen before. Everywhere, pods were opening. Guardians emerged, figures of shifting metal, some looking almost human, others taking different shapes. None tried to stop them. In fact, they seemed to be clearing the path. When the three finally reached the surface, they emerged into chaos. Alien researchers were trying to flee to their ships, but the ships wouldn't start. Some aliens had grabbed weapons and were pointing them at the entrance to the ruins. "Stop," Ellen shouted. "Don't shoot. They won't hurt you if you don't attack them." Too late. As the first Guardian emerged into the moonlight, an alien fired his weapon. The energy beam struck the Guardian and was absorbed, making its metallic skin glow brighter for a moment. The Guardian didn't attack. Instead, it spoke, its voice resonating on many levels at once. "We are the Sentinels, created to watch, to wait, and to awaken when needed." More Guardians emerged behind it, dozens of them, each slightly different, but all beautiful in their fluid metal forms. "What are you?" asked Zrax, the chief scientist, who had been brave enough to stay while others fled. "We are humanity's legacy," the first Guardian answered, "created to protect knowledge too dangerous for races not ready to wield it. This facility is not a human outpost. It is a vault and watching station." Alan stepped forward, drawn by something he couldn't explain. The Guardian turned to him, its face shifting to look more human, almost kind. "You carry the memory," it said to Alan. "All human descendants do, dormant until needed." "What memory?" Alan asked. "The truth of what humans became," the Guardian replied. "Your kind did not disappear or die out. They evolved, ascended, left physical form behind." The aliens who remained listened in shock. For centuries, they had believed humans were a failed species, barely hanging on as refugees after losing their homeworld. "Impossible," Rolfs whispered. More Guardians continued to emerge from below, hundreds now, spreading out around the ruins. In orbit, the aliens' main ship reported strange energy readings as ancient systems activated planet-wide. "Why now?" Kira asked the Guardian. "Why wake up after all this time?" "The breach triggered emergency protocols," the Guardian explained. "But your presence, humans with active genetic memory, accelerated the process. We recognize you as the children of our creators." Ixel, still trembling but curious, asked, "What happens now?" The Guardian's face shifted, becoming solemn. "Now the truth must be shared. The Galactic Confederacy has expanded too quickly, taking technologies they don't understand. Humans foresaw this long ago. They knew someday their Guardians would be needed." Alan felt more memories surfacing. Knowledge of incredible technologies, worlds beyond imagination, and the true history of humanity's transformation. "They didn't disappear," he said, understanding at last. "They evolved into something greater, and they left us the keys to follow them, when we're ready." The Guardian nodded, its metallic face reflecting the 3 moons overhead. "The mockery of human ruins ends today," it said. "The awakening has just begun." Within hours, the sky filled with Galactic Confederacy ships. They had received distress calls from the expedition and came ready for battle. Massive warships hung in orbit, their weapons pointed at the planet's surface. "Surrender the facility and release our people," came the voice of Admiral Krez over all communication channels, or we will destroy the entire site. The Guardians did not seem concerned. The first Guardian, who Alan now knew was called Sentinel Prime, simply looked up at the sky and raised one metallic hand. A wave of blue energy shot upward from the ruins, expanding in a dome that covered miles of the planet's surface. When it reached the ships, their lights flickered and died. The ships didn't fall. They simply floated, powerless. "No weapons," Sentinel Prime said quietly. "That was the first rule our creators made for us. We protect, we do not destroy." Commander Vrex and his team had been brought to the surface, unharmed but shaken. Vrex had lost his usual confidence, his scales pale, and his eyes wide with what might have been fear or awe. "What did you see down there?" Alan asked him. Vrex looked at him, really looked at him, perhaps for the first time. "Everything," he whispered. "I saw what humans became, what they could do." He shuddered. "We were so wrong about your kind." Small shuttles from the disabled ships began landing around the ruins. Armed soldiers stepped out, but they lowered their weapons when they saw their own people unharmed and the incredible sight of the Guardians. A tall alien in an elaborate uniform approached. Admiral Krez himself, come to negotiate. He was older than the others, his scales faded with age, his eyes sharp with experience. "What are these things?" he demanded of Vrex. Before Vrex could answer, Sentinel Prime stepped forward. "We are the guardians of humanity's legacy, created to protect knowledge until the galaxy was ready." Admiral Krez narrowed his eyes. "Humans? They are nothing in our confederacy, just scattered refugees." Alan felt a strange calm as he walked forward to stand beside Sentinel Prime. Memories that weren't his own guided his words. "You've only seen what was left behind," he said, "not what we became." The Guardian gestured, and the air between them shimmered. An image appeared, a view of the galaxy, but like none they had seen before. Points of light connected by flowing energy showed a network spanning thousands of stars. "This is the true human civilization," Sentinel Prime explained. "Not gone, but transformed. Existing in dimensions your science has not yet discovered." Admiral Krez stepped back, his confident posture faltering. "Impossible. Your confederacy has expanded too quickly," the Guardian continued, "taking technologies from ruins across the galaxy without understanding their purpose or origin. Many were left by humans, designed to be found when you were ready." Kira joined them, her eyes glowing slightly with the same blue light as the Guardians. "The genetic memory is getting stronger," she told Alan. "I can see what they were planning, all those centuries ago." More shuttles arrived, bringing high officials from the Confederacy government. They approached cautiously, surrounded by guards who looked nervously at the hundreds of Guardians now standing around the ruins. "What do they want?" asked a small gray alien who seemed to be an important leader. "To guide," Sentinel Prime answered simply. "Humans foresaw that younger races would need guidance after they ascended. We were created to provide that guidance when the time came." Alan felt more memories flooding his mind. Vast knowledge about science, history, and civilization that no human alive should have known. "The mockery ends today," he said, addressing the Confederacy leaders. "Not with violence, but with truth. Humans didn't fall. We stepped aside to let you grow, but left Guardians to help when you reached this crossroads." Kira nodded, understanding too. They knew this moment would come, when the galaxy needed to know the truth before advancing further. The aliens looked at each other, their worldview crumbling before their eyes. Everything they had believed about humans, about their own supremacy in the galaxy, was being questioned. "And if we refuse this guidance?" Admiral Krez asked. Sentinel Prime's face shifted to a gentle smile. "There is no refusal, only acceptance or delay. The awakening has begun across 100 worlds simultaneously. The time has come." From space, HC 2187 now glowed with blue light visible from orbit. a beacon announcing that everything was about to change. 1 year passed. The ruins on planet HC 2187 had transformed completely. No longer half buried in sand, the facility stood tall and gleaming, its true form revealed, a magnificent structure of sweeping arches and towers that reached toward the sky. Blue energy flowed through its walls like blood through veins. Alan stood on a high balcony, looking out at the new buildings that surrounded the ancient facility. Ships came and went, bringing visitors from across the galaxy. Beside him stood Kira, her eyes now permanently tinged with blue light, a sign of her fully awakened genetic memory. "The council meeting starts soon," she reminded him. "The Confederacy representatives are already arriving." Alan nodded. So much had changed in a year. The Galactic Confederacy had been forced to reorganize itself. Humans, once ignored and mocked, now sat at the center of galactic politics, not through force, but through the undeniable truth the Guardians had revealed. They walked together to the Grand Chamber, where Sentinel Prime waited with other Guardians. The room was filling with aliens of all kinds, leaders, scientists, diplomats. Among them was Commander Vrex, now Ambassador Vrex, representing his people. He had changed the most, becoming humble and thoughtful where once he had been arrogant. Vrex approached Alan and bowed slightly. "The last ship from Earth Sector has arrived. All 7 Guardian facilities are now fully active." Earth Sector, the region of space where Earth had once been. Not destroyed, as everyone had believed, but transformed along with its people into something beyond physical understanding. The meeting began. Sentinel Prime stood in the center of the chamber, its metallic form shifting with beautiful patterns of light. 1 year ago, understanding began, it said. Today, the next phase starts. Screens appeared around the room, showing images of Guardian facilities on other worlds. Each had been thought to be simple human ruins. Each had been mocked and dismissed. Each now stood revealed as a powerful node in a network spanning the galaxy. "Our creators foresaw this time," Sentinel Prime continued, "when the younger races would reach too far, too quickly, taking technologies they weren't ready for. They left us to guide, not to rule." Young Ixel, now head of a new science division studying Guardian technology, presented the first findings. "We've confirmed that many technologies we thought we invented were actually discovered in old human sites. We didn't understand their purpose until now." Alan stepped forward. His memories, both his own and those genetically passed down from humanity's past, gave him a unique perspective. "Humans didn't disappear," he explained to the gathered representatives. "They evolved. The event we thought destroyed Earth was actually an ascension. They moved beyond physical form into something greater." Kira joined him, but they knew others would follow the path they left. They created the Guardians to wait until the galaxy was ready for the knowledge they left behind. Ambassador Vrex spoke next, his voice heavy with emotion. "We mocked what we didn't understand. We treated humans as lesser beings. We were wrong." The chamber was silent as everyone absorbed this truth. Species that had considered themselves superior now faced the reality that humans had advanced far beyond them, choosing to step aside rather than dominate. "What happens now?" asked one of the Confederacy leaders. Sentinel Prime's face formed a gentle smile. "Now you learn. Grow. Prepare. The Guardians will teach what you're ready to know." Alan felt a warm presence in his mind, the genetic memory strengthening. Through it, he sensed something vast and watchful beyond normal space. The ascended humans were aware, observing through their Guardians. "And someday?" asked Ixel. "Someday," Alan said, knowing the truth with certainty. "When the galaxy is ready, they will return. Until then, we build on what they left us." As the meeting continued, Alan stepped outside again to look at the 3 moons. The facility beneath him hummed with ancient power, no longer a ruin but a beacon. Across the stars, similar beacons were lighting up, forming a network of knowledge and protection that would guide the galaxy's future. The mockery had ended. The awakening had begun, and humanity's true legacy was finally understood. Not conquest or dominance, but elevation and guidance, waiting patiently for others to join them among the stars.